Hi, Sue.
Hi there. How you doing?
I'm hanging in.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Excellent.
Sue, is my screen visible to you?
Yep, I have. You've got the agenda up.
I do. Thank you.
I just finished, well, a little while ago, finished the webinar.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, I figured to do it all in one day.
Absolutely. How long did it take?
A little less than it. 5. Let's see, it started at 5. It actually went over. It was more than an hour, but not much.
Because Camilla wanted to do it as well, and we weren't quite sure that it would be done in
I
the
know,
time
I
she
thought,
had.
yeah, I was like, well, it could be pushing it, but I did it anyway.
Real good. I'm glad to know that.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Camilla.
Hi, Camilla.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hi.
Camilla, I saw you walking on Huguenot Street today.
I did, yes.
Okay.
I didn't see you.
No.
Hello. Hi.
I was on
I'm
my way
so
out.
sorry. Hi. I didn't realize Tom was on, on his side. I apologize, whatever I said. Have a good meeting. Bye.
Hi, Marina.
Ciao. Hi, everybody. I found myself fiddling with the sound.
Oh,
Oh. Steve, message received.
I'll just tell everybody I've got to leave a little bit before 8 o'clock. My stepmother died yesterday morning, and I've got some family stuff that I've got to attend to tonight online.
Oh.
So
Absolutely, Steve. Do you need to leave before 8?
no, that's fine.
You
This
sure?
this is good. This meeting is good.
Okay, well, we'll do what we can. I'm so sorry. I really am.
Thank you. She was 96 and lived through COVID.
Wow.
Oh, my
Good for
God.
her.
96 seems to be the magic number. So many people, because my mom was 96, and so many people wrote to me and said, I've had so many people that are 96 this year that have, gone on.
Yep.
I don't know.
That's a great age, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I can only hope that, I mean, my father died a couple months ago of COVID at 94. So she did pretty well. And he was the oldest of his generation. He had 3 siblings. And his mother lived to 99 and he lived to 94. And so I'm hoping that that's the genetic side of the family that I take after.
Yeah.
Right. And did they have quality of life in their 90s?
Yes, they did. Actually, they lived at home, and I have my family's farm upstate, just outside of Albany, and they lived there just up until my stepmother spent a couple months in the St. Peter's nursing home, but their quality of life was very good.
That's wonderful.
That's what you hope for. Well, Steve, please step away or slip away when you need to.
Okay.
It's actually around 8 o'clock that we are going to talk with John Litton of the planning board, and that developed just today. I invited him and he accepted. So I think we're going to put off B1 until 8 o'clock when he can join us.
Okay.
And I'm sorry that the timing is that, because we'd love your input, but maybe we'll have a few minutes to hear your thoughts and I can represent them to John. Everyone, it looks like we are a few minutes after 7. Hi, Chris. Hi, Camilla. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
And let me just check, Pat, if you are on by phone, do you want to just send me a quick text message to acknowledge? And hi, Val.
Hi, Tom. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Val. Valerie, it looks to me like we are live on YouTube.
We
now.
are, yes, we are.
Okay. I'm not sure we have Pat at the moment, but if not, we have Chris. And that's great. Everyone, let me declare open this meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission of the Village of New Paltz. It is March 15th, 2021, and we are opening the meeting just a few minutes after 7:04. I should add a very chilly March 15th all of a sudden. I'm up in my garret and I just haven't been warm all day. I don't know what that's telling me, but welcome everyone and thank you as always. Let's go basically through the agenda in order, with the exception, as I mentioned, that I think we just needed to pick a time to speak with John, and that's going to be around 8. So how about approval of the minutes? Did anybody catch anything that should be amended?
No, it looks good to me.
Move to accept.
Moved. Is there a second? All those in favor of approving minutes as written?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Chris, in the absence of Pat, you are free to vote. Are you okay with accepting minutes? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Val, that's unanimous then.
Thank you.
Always loved.
I think the thank you goes the other way, Val. Thank you for preparing perfect minutes. Okay, doke. Let's go back to the agenda then. I don't believe Dana's with us. Val, I think you said 7:15.
7:15 is what we agreed, yes.
Okay. Let me just, everybody just give a little bit of a frame. I heard from Dana mid or late last week with what seemed like a very simple request, but it ends up being an exterior change and it is on Huguenot Street. So we asked her to do a very basic application, which we'll discuss and she will present at 7:15. Val, did she indicate that she would be attending?
Yes, she will be here.
Okay, so let's go to other business. Bill, how are you and how are things?
I'm fine. Thanks for asking. In terms of the village business, really not too much to report, other than the Oliver House went before the ZBA last week. And they're going to hold a special meeting on March 30th for a public hearing to help perhaps bump up the process by a couple of weeks so that perhaps the variance can be granted. So that's moving along. It's slower than we all would like, but it is moving along. The planning board didn't meet last time, so I really don't have a planning board report from the last meeting. There's only been a couple of pre-applications so far in the past month or so. And the only other thing is we're starting to talk about a proposal of an annex for a subdivision from the town to the village for a fairly large housing complex, 2.5 story housing complex, presented by the Moriello family. And we're looking at that and working with attorneys to move that process forward. So those are the three major headlines from the village from me.
Okay. Bill, I heard something last week about the Moriello proposal or project. That's the land just south of campus on 32 going south.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's pretty substantial, right? It's something like 200 dwelling units.
Yeah, I think it's something like 230, something like that, 238 in that neighborhood.
That'll be big.
Oh, yes. Yes. It's going to be a long process. I did a site visit to the proposed area with the mayor and the supervisor a couple of weeks ago, and it's, you won't even see it from 32. It's be situated into a low area of the property where you may even see the rooftops, but you won't see the full structures from the roadway from 32. So that's and there's connectors to the university planned, and there's a lot going on and a lot being planned, but it's still early days in terms of its application.
Got it. Well, it's good to get that on our radar screen as early as possible. Bill, is there any kind of update on the one-way Huguenot Street proposal?
I forget where we left that. We're still open to hearing suggestions. Nothing's closed, so it's open for conversation.
And Sue, is there anything you can
Yeah, I
add?
think it's going to still remain open, but it doesn't really sound like it's going to go anywhere.
Okay. Is that a way of saying residents haven't really taken to the idea?
There's not a united
Okay.
front.
I did write a letter to the village board, and I thought it was a little bit premature until Zero Place and Roddy's plan for the Main Street Auto were more brought to fruition. But I personally, I'm not a big supporter of it now.
Okay. Well, let's keep our ears to the ground. It's great that we kind of have both ends of the section covered, right? Between you and Sue, we really have the whole affected area and a little bit more under our view. This is great. Did anybody have a question for Bill or anything we wanted to hear more about? Okay. Bill, I just saw a note on our own agenda. The public hearing on the budget is March 24th.
Yep.
Okay. That's great. Well, you won't find that we made any particular demands on it. Happy to say.
I think I took a look at it. I didn't see anything unusual in there. Thank you.
No, we're really trying to be very moderate. Well, let's go on to updates and discussions if there's nothing else. Camilla, we're going to skip number 1 for until a little later. So how about promotion updates and general planning for the art show?
Well, I don't really have too many updates since last month's meeting. Our first advertisement went out in the newspapers, and I think maybe at the beginning of April we can do another press release, just a reminder. And the artists all have been contacted through our email list. And if you all agree with the flyer, then I can get a few printed and then we can distribute it all over the village. I'm not sure if it's a good idea this time to put them in shops, since perhaps it's not a safe environment for people to be in just yet.
Yeah, where would you think they would go if you had some
I'm
printed?
not quite sure. To be honest, the flyers didn't really help that much in the past either. It was usually the newspaper and word of mouth that,
And social media.
yeah.
Chris, do you see a need? Can you think of a place where printed copies would help?
Yeah, I guess because people are still going like to a lot of restaurants. Like Commissary has a board that it could be posted on. Where else was I just thinking? I mean, I could post it. I also can start reaching out to people, just like by word of mouth to artists, to try and get some submissions. But I think if a flyer, like, yeah, I guess I can only really think of Commissary right now. I know Karma Road has a board as well, maybe at the library. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are still going to shops cautiously, I think, Camilla. I'm not really one of them, but I mean, should we just print out, I don't know, 12 or 15?
Okay.
Keep it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, I could go like around and hang them up in different places. I have no problem doing that too. So if you want me to do that, yeah, for sure.
And Manny's has a little space too.
Yes. Usually I left a few copies at Manny's and also the other art supply store, the Rhinebeck Artists shop.
Okay.
My heavens, we've entered a whole new world. Pat is on Zoom.
Hi,
Yep.
Pat.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat.
Good,
That's great. Welcome.
thank you,
It's nice to see you and have you part of this.
thank you.
We were just going over the art show. Camilla, is there anything else that feels imminent?
And I can post about it on our Facebook page also, and various New Paths related groups.
Good.
Usually that's.
Good. Okay, let's plan to talk again at the April meeting, of course. And Camilla, whenever you think the time is right to suggest a second press release, just be in touch with Val or me
Okay.
and Val.
I think in April, if we can do a second one at the beginning, that would be good.
I think that sounds great. Does anybody have anything to add on the art show? Okay. Well, let's pause our other business and loop back to Dana Rudikoff's application. Dana, welcome to the HPC.
Thanks. It's lovely to be with you.
Nice to have you back.
Absolutely.
Valerie's just going to bring up your application. And thank you for making that so fast. I mean, that was, I think, about 5 hours after we hung up. It appeared in my inbox. Dana, do you want to just describe for everyone what the plan is and whether you've made a decision about the other windows?
As far as whether to replace them or not?
Yeah, the same size ones.
So the project is right now, the basement in my house is unfinished, and we could use a little bit more space. And so the plan would be to finish half of the basement. And the contractor that I'm working with is familiar with New York State Building Code, of course. And so there are 4 windows. There's no windows on one half of the basement, and that's the part the part with like the greenish looking floor is not going to be finished. And then the part with the wood looking floor, thank you, Valerie, for sharing that, is the part that would be finished. And so there are 4 windows total. There are 2 toward the back of the house on that short wall, which is the back. And then there are 2 on the side. And so it's my understanding that one of them needs to be enlarged to be a legal egress window. And the one that we are looking at is the one that has that semicircle around it. And this is the side of the house as it currently exists. And then the window on the right in that photo is the one that would be enlarged. And we have a cool photoshopped version of what the enlarged version would look like. It doesn't go below grade or anything like that. And for structural reasons, I did look into whether it would be possible to do it on the back, but it seems that that won't really work. And the main reason for that has to do with the fact that that back window, well, first it's a short wall and the deck is right there on the right. But the way the roof is, that's a load bearing wall. And so it would involve a lot of issues with having to structurally reinforce and put in headers and move plumbing and the ductwork. And so in addition to needing to move the air conditioning compressor. And so for all of those reasons, it is not structurally a good option, I'm told. I'm not sure. I think that pretty much sums it up. Oh, and then I haven't made a final decision, but there's a possibility that I would like to replace the other 3 windows with more energy efficient windows, being that those are about 30 years old. And there have been so many technological developments that, would just probably be more efficient. But they wouldn't change size at all. They would remain exactly the same visually.
Great. That's all very clear to me. Is there anyone who just needs a point of clarification on the project? So why don't we, let's everybody focus on the egress window first, and then we can focus second on the replacement windows. When Dana and I spoke last week, she had mentioned technical obstacles to a rear-facing egress window. I didn't know all the details you just enumerated, but that seems pretty compelling to me that's a lot of work and expense and trouble for something that I think probably points in the direction of the side window. I think I mentioned, Dana, in passing, one of the things we try to avoid is asymmetry, such as what we're looking at here. That's pretty much an article of faith in preservation. However, I think that there are some ways to mitigate this with some vegetation, just to kind of screen it, break it up. And something that did not occur to me when we were talking or emailing is, there may be even a little advantage to doing that for security purposes. New Paltz is not inherently a very dangerous place, but it's an egress window, and probably the less it's seen from the street, the less you're inviting random crime. Not to be alarmist about it, but it did occur to me that could look a lot more inviting than a small window. So that's kind of where my thinking goes. HPC members, has everybody had a chance to walk by and see this live? What are your thoughts?
I walked by and it's not terribly visible. Certainly if you're walking on Huguenot Street heading south, you don't notice it at all. If you're heading north, you notice it more. But I honestly think that with some landscaping, it would be absolutely fine, in my opinion.
Why don't we just go Steve next and then Camilla?
I did not have the opportunity to walk by, but the pictures as illustrated, I have no objections at all.
Camilla and then Chris and then Pat?
I certainly wouldn't want to argue with the necessity of the window since it's a requirement for safety reasons. And the visibility can be definitely mitigated with either vegetation or even painting the other, under the other window, painting a charcoal stripe or something like a trompe-l'oeil window in parentheses, so that it would look symmetrical on both sides. But the vegetation would definitely help.
And Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I think I agree with most of what's been said. I think it was some vegetation in there would be nice, just because if you are coming or going north, if you were being really picky, you could kind of see it. But overall, I think, if it's needed, it's needed, and I think it's great for you to do to your home.
And Pat, how about you?
I think some plantings would do the trick, and I drive by there today.
Okay. Well, I'm not hearing any resistance, and I think that points to, a pretty straightforward case. Dana, you're willing to accept some level of planting. You could also potentially have a little bit of a fence or both. You could have something trained up on a fence. In cases like this, we usually trust homeowners to do what's in their best interest anyway. So if you're happy with that arrangement, I think we're just putting one pretty broad stipulation on it.
I think that sounds fine. I mean, during the growing season there, I had some perennials like mint and other things that die back, but it would certainly be quite possible to put some shrubs or something that don't die away in the colder months, sort of to balance it out.
That must be your best spot for sun and warmth, sure. So, what an opportunity in a way to think about something systematic.
Yes, it's south-facing side, so there's that little area.
Great. Dana, as for the others, if you were to replace the other three, I think the only thing we would ask is that they be in the same series, that they not intensify what's going to be an asymmetry. So not divided. I mean, nothing that would really change it.
In the same series as each other and in the same series as the egress window.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Just so that they remain in the same style.
Yes. Relative uniformity.
Yeah. I'm thinking now about Camilla's idea of just, painting the lower half gray. That you could mock that up with some cardboard and spray paint and just see if that does the trick.
Yeah, like a deep charcoal, and then just paint the lower windowsill that's white, also the same dark color, and then you won't even see it. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't know advice.
So is there a motion to accept or to approve the application? And I guess specifically, this would be for an egress window of approximately 36 by 54, Pella 350 series, there is an understanding that either vegetation screening or something done with illusion could solve the problem, and also that the applicant would have the option of replacing the other three in the same 350 series or whatever's recommended and nearest.
I move.
Moved by Sue,
I second.
second by Camilla. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Dana, thank you for really a great application done in such a hurry. It makes our job so much easier. It really does.
Thank you for accepting it because I wasn't aware of your timeline. And so I did submit it after the official time. So that's part of my motivation. I wanted to be as timely as possible.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Larger things, would probably require a public hearing, which means that we wouldn't have been able to decide tonight. But with things like this, we really don't see this as rising to that level. So wonderful. So the process is that Val will send you confirmation of this decision. That'll also go to the building department. You're free to move ahead with, I believe that window replacement does need a permit, but they will know for sure.
Yes, I will definitely be going to the village for permitting as the next step, but this was my first step. So thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Good luck with the project.
Thanks very much. Have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Dana.
Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Dana.
Bye.
So everybody, that's HP 21. I just lost the number. 2101. First of the year. Approved. Let's go back to our updates and discussions then. Any movement, Camilla, on either of the archives?
No, there are still a few items I need to get to Zach. A list of our former winners and some minor details, but all the pictures have been uploaded to our archives, and I haven't heard anything back on the progress of the actual archive itself.
Good. Then that seems like we're fine. I spoke to Zach last week and I didn't think to ask, but there may be an opportunity on the 24th. Sue, anything brewing at on Huguenot Street?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay. And you think that the one-way proposal just doesn't have enough support?
Not at this point, no.
I mean, I think Steve's point is really good. Until the traffic patterns are known, I'm not sure that I would be messing with one-ways until we really know what the effect is. Does anyone know how close we are to having people move into Zero Place? It looks like they're really, I think the building's pretty much sealed now.
The building looks sealed, but there are many places where there's no wallboard sheetrock installed inside. On the southern face, they had on the side they had a number of solar panels that were installed, then they were removed, and then they were reinstalled. So certainly there's progress there, but it just doesn't seem like the retail space on the ground floor is very close to being ready to rent.
I wonder if they're focusing on residential first.
The lights are off and on all night. I mean, it's security lights and things, and there's a lot of crews that the other morning I was at Stewart's, and at 7:05 they started their generator, and they begin their work on a Saturday, so they are working quite diligently.
Okay. Great.
Excuse me, do you want to report anything on 196 Huguenot Street, the inquiry we got about painting the exterior?
You know, that's a great idea. This is, this came in just, when was it? Well, I think I didn't notice it till Val reminded me on Sunday. But we had a request from 196 Huguenot Street, but it amounted to like-for-like replacement of some siding and painting probably in the same color. But Camilla very nicely agreed to meet with the clients to help them think through colors. So that's really just a very brief report that 196 Huguenot Street made contact, but it doesn't look like it rises to any need for an application. And Camilla, thank you so much for quickly responding.
Sure, I would be happy to help in any way I can.
I'm sure it'll be helpful. Val, why don't we just make a note that maybe we'll hear from Camilla next month on wherever things stand.
Okay, will do. I want to keep an eye on the time as well, because Susan Stessen-Cohn is to join us about 7:30.
Yes. Well, let's see if we can squeeze in Chris's report on number 5, the African-American burial. Oh, we lost Chris. I saw his internet go a little wonky, and it looks like we don't have him. Number 6, then, whenever Sue gets here, we'll just jump over. I actually don't have much to say about 6A. I haven't heard anything further, and looks like it still doesn't have a number, Val. Is that to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, that's still a pre-application to the best of my knowledge.
Okay. The only little bit I can add is that the planning board is anticipating hearing back from the Lalo group. I don't know how soon we might find that out tonight, but that's potentially the most consequential project in anybody's living memory. If some version of what they proposed for the pit goes forward, and we've made it clear that we want to be a part of that, and I think the planning board wants us to be a part of that. Any questions about those things? Let's see, annual report. Val, is that a document you wanted to share, or just
Hold on just a sec, I can pull it up.
I mean, it's hardly an exciting document, but I just wanted to let everybody know that we are at the point of being able to submit our annual report for last year.
Oh, and you know what? I have the wrong version of this up, so hold on just a second and I will grab the correct one.
Okay. While Val's doing that, I can slip in one thing really quickly, which is the budget report. Bill, you're going to be especially happy to hear. We're 75% into the year. At the end of February, we're 52% into our budget. So once again, we're well behind pace, and we'll probably be giving back something at the end of the year.
Sounds terrific, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah. Is it going to be a train wreck of a budget for next year, do you think?
Define train wreck.
Worse than usual? A lot worse than usual?
There are a lot of factors involved in this. I really couldn't answer that question, but I don't anticipate it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Hi, Chris. Are you back?
I think so.
Yeah, you're fine. I could tell that your internet was going all freezy.
Yeah.
Hey, is there any update for the African American burial ground?
Not right now. Just because hopefully, or maybe start back going into planting season now. So I think that landscaping's picking up, but right now I don't have anything to update with it.
Okay.
I did have a question though, actually. I was on 213 in Riften, and there's, I think it's like on Main Street in Riften, technically, next to the it's a body of water. I just don't know exactly what it is. And there is like signage for Sojourner Truth, but it's kind of in the same way that the African American Burial Ground sign was very run down. This one looks like it hasn't been taken care of in a while. And obviously I know that we're not in Riften, but I don't know. It was just, I don't know. I was thinking like if that's something that we could possibly, and also Camilla, I don't want to sign you up for, you know, intensely painting the sign again, but you did such an incredible job the first time. And so it was just something I noticed when I was over there. And so I was thinking, since we were able to get this, the one in New Paltz done, you know, I just don't know who to even get in contact or who is responsible for that, or if we can do that, or if that's, you know, but it was something I noticed. And since we had just fixed this one, or fixed the African American Burial Ground sign, I was wondering if that would be something that we would be interested in contacting someone about or getting involved with, and possibly just repainting it in the same way. And Camilla, if you don't want to do it, you could just teach me how you did it, and I could
if we have permission to do it, if we are allowed to do it, then why not? It would be nice to.
A nice community gesture, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I think that we actually have leftover paint. I don't think there'd even be any expense.
No, I think I still have the yellow paint somewhere here on my table. So
yeah, I don't remember about. Oh, the blue we used spray paint.
The blue we used, yeah.
Yeah, but that's very inexpensive.
And did I give you the yellow paint?
I think I have.
I think I put all of that in a box and took it.
Yeah, I think I have it.
Yeah. I thought it was here, but no, it's not.
Chris, I'm not against that idea. I don't necessarily need more work right now, but you know, summer's coming and days get longer. One of the real breakthroughs was Camilla's husband figured out a way to remove it from its stand so the head comes off, and that means you don't have to stand in the hot sun painting on a vertical surface. So if it's the same, Chris, I'd be happy to take a look. Where it's on 213
in Riften. Yeah. So here, hold on one sec. Let me just get. It's right on 213, which I believe is Main Street in Riften. It's right next to. Hold on. There's it's like on or near a body of water, Sturgeon Pool.
Oh, okay, right.
So it's yeah, it's along 213 Sturgeon Pool in Riften.
You Chris, are you?
You want to give it a?
You know how to do a pin drop and maybe just do a screenshot?
I think I could do that.
I mean, I know generally where that is and could easily go have a look, as many of us could. If there's a way to just send out to the HPC just a screenshot or whatever it might take, that might be nice, and then people can have a look. Chris, that sounds really good to me. I think Chris is frozen, but if you're hearing me, that sounds really good. And Val, why don't we put that on the April agenda as well?
Will do.
Camilla, I actually, before I say that, Camilla, I thought that you were saying not no, but possibly.
No, I said if we can remove it or if we have permission to remove it, I would be happy to paint it.
Okay, that's so nice of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay. Val, do you have the annual report?
No, I'm afraid I don't. I keep picking up your original document and I'm reluctant to do a lot of searching here in the middle of everything going on. So I apologize.
Yeah. I don't, it's not a terribly interesting document, honestly, colleagues. But, we report the number of meetings, we report who's on the board. They ask if we've had any problematic cases, and this year we said no. We've had quite a few with replacement windows, but none of them difficult this year. I reported that we managed through COVID to have an art show, and we managed to give Partners in Preservation Awards, which actually, happened just pre-COVID based on their year. But the art show definitely fell in COVID times. Val, am I missing any highlights?
Well, we talked a little bit about Ann Oliver, the house.
Right.
And some other things related to Black history, local African American history.
Including restoration of the sign, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. I did send the report to everyone. I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at it, but they have, I think, had the opportunity to at least get it in their email.
Yeah. So if anybody feels like you have an objection or an addition, why don't you let me hear from you, I would say within the next day or so, and then otherwise we'll send it off as revised.
And I think the one thing that I am lacking is something from Chris, like his letter of interest or CV. I'm not sure what was submitted to the village board when he was interviewed.
Okay.
But I need to add something to document his addition to the commission.
Chris, how you doing on internet, Chris? Can you hear?
Yeah, so I have an email that I originally sent to Tim. Would that work, or?
That's, I'm sure.
I think that would work. Yeah.
Yeah. If you could shoot that over to Val, and Val, the other thing you could potentially do is just quote or link to the village board minutes.
Sure.
Because they would have, I think, reported, I mean, it probably was executive session, but they might have reported a result.
Well, in fact, Ariana sent us the motion.
Oh, okay.
From the minutes, yeah.
Okay.
So that I have as well.
That would be great, Chris. If you could just get that to Val, then we're covered there. Speaking of village things, so the harassment and discrimination training, Camilla, did you hear anything more from Alberta?
Yes, there will be other sessions as well. I don't know exactly the dates or how long it would take to complete the training, but there will be more dates other than the 2 days.
Okay. One of which was today, right?
Yeah, I did it this evening.
How long did it take, Sue?
I was trying to figure out, because it was definitely over an hour, but not much over an hour.
Okay. So maybe we can all just kind of pool our resources and share. This is the sort of thing that I don't always notice when it comes through, so we could share that out. So you managed to, it was what, a 5 o'clock start?
Yeah.
Or
5:30.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, 5:30. Oh wait, it started at 5:30, so it was only an hour. Yeah, it was an hour.
Okay.
Okay. And Tom, you realize you can send whatever you do for SUNY as well.
Yes, and that's what I did last year.
Yeah, me too.
Right. Very good. So Val, why don't we just, as announcements and reminders come, we'll just forward those to the HPC.
Yes.
Term expirations are coming up the month after next. One involves my term as chair, the other, Pat, your term as a member. You're certainly not under any obligation to say what you want to do right now publicly, but I will. I'm happy to stand for another term if you would like me to, and I will absent myself if you want to talk about it tonight, or I can arrange to absent myself next month if you want to talk about it then.
And I'm happy to give somebody else the opportunity to be on the HPC in my place.
You are happy to let somebody else?
Yeah.
Okay. Pat, why don't I give you a call then, and we'll just talk about the details of your thinking.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a wonderful experience and I love everybody, but I think it's time.
Well, we've been delighted to have you aboard. Absolutely delighted.
I know it's been very trying this past year.
Oof.
My technological skills.
Everybody's. I mean, I feel like there's never been a Zoom meeting where everything was just crystal clear to me. But Pat, thank you so much for many years now of participation, and I'll give you a phone call in the next week or two.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, local African American history. That was really Susan's agenda item, right, Val?
Correct, yes.
Okay, no sign from Susan.
No, I don't see her yet.
Okay. Item number 12 is the last thing apart from number 1, which we'll get to last. I feel like we've probably talked this through pretty well. For me, the primary goal is to get something into the code and or procedures where we have more of a voice in protecting some of the historic assets of the community. And I think that is now looking like a really good collaboration with the planning board, which is why John was willing to come tonight to the meeting. We could actually, are there other goals? Camilla, are you happy with the status quo of the art show, for example?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I'm not sure what else could we do or how differently we could do it in the future. I just hope that we will be able to get back to a regular schedule and a regular venue at the library. And I know that some of the artists miss the live aspect of the show as well.
Oh, yeah,
And the
absolutely.
judging and the reception. But we can only hope that we can do it the way we used to.
Yeah, I'm guardedly optimistic that 2022 will be a regular art show.
I think so.
Or something very close to regular. Does anyone feel like there's another goal that we should be talking about for this year? I feel like, supporting African American history has implicitly been a goal, and that, to Chris's point, I think it would be great if we could reach across community borders and do something for a neighboring community that, honestly, I don't know if Riften even has a historic preservation commission or an equivalent.
I tried to look it up, but I couldn't really find anything. So I figured like if I could reach out maybe to like town hall or something like that and just say, hey, not sure how this was organized or
Yeah.
Or who is responsible for upkeep or anything like that. Or if it's not anything, in which case, I'm not sure. But I think double checking with them and seeing, I'll reach out and see.
Sure.
I just sent over.
I can also reach out to the mayor and see if he can kind of give me a direct line to whoever the supervisor or mayor is. I'm not even sure if Riften, I'm not sure.
It's a hamlet, isn't it? It's part of the town of Esopus.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So maybe the Esopus has a historic society, I think. But Chris, Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying I sent over the location. I don't know if it's that exact location where I sent, but it's right along that road. If it's not exactly at the pinpoint that I sent, then it'll be like right before or right after
Perfect.
it.
That's a great start. And Bill, thank you so much. That's what we needed. Bill just text or chatted over the link for Sopas's local government.
Oh, cool.
So, Chris, I'll work with you on that, and I think it's a lovely idea. I think it's really good. Why don't we do this? We're just a couple minutes before 8 o'clock, at which point Steve has to go. Steve, do you want to share your thoughts, ideas, suggestions for the village code revisions so that we can represent them?
I had some notes that I have left at my library, so I'm afraid I don't have much to add at this moment.
Okay. You don't remember hating anything? That would be what I would most be worried about.
No, I mean, I think design review board, I think as a concept is fine. I think it's a bit of progress for HPC. I think it's a logical extension of responsibilities for us, for this body. So I think I think it's a very good idea.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. Why don't we'll just report back, Steve, and again, so very sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank you.
And let us know if there's anything we can do on the HPC side.
I will. Thank you. And I guess I'm going to take off now, and I will see you colleagues next month.
Okay. Maybe even before, because the weather starts to be nice and you can walk. Okay.
That would be nice.
Okay. Thanks, Steve, and condolences.
Thank you.
Yeah. So everyone, what I would propose, we're going to have John joining us probably in about 5 minutes. Why don't we go around and share ideas so that the time, John really said he had only about 15 minutes to spare. So maybe it'd be nice if we presented our thoughts collectively and gave him a chance to share his. Sue, are you willing to start? Is there anything?
I'm not really sure that I have any thoughts on this. What I've seen so far looks good to me.
Okay.
You know, and certainly makes logical sense to me that this is what we need to be doing.
I think so. You know, I'll just sort of say as a sidebar, it concerns me that we spend quite a lot of time and are very systematic about egress windows on Huguenot Street that honestly don't matter as much as losing our downtown.
Right, right.
So yeah. Camilla, how about you? Any responses or suggestions?
I like the document that you prepared, Tom, and I think it's important for us as a community to decide what are we going to look like, or what our goals are as we move forward, because we all love New Paltz and we all care about how our community looks and feels, and we don't necessarily want to lose the character of New Paltz, regardless of the age of a building or a style of a building. And this document lays out without any kind of hysteria what the criteria will be for judging or looking at certain changes that a homeowner proposes. I think it's important that we look at what's happening with the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else to
well,
say.
I certainly agree with that. And I think that in the absence of goals and plans and standards, it's always going to be driven by contractors and developers, right? They're always going to present something that's legal or can be made legal, but isn't necessarily aesthetically pleasing or appropriate, more to the point. John, welcome. Can you see and hear everybody?
Yes, I can.
Great. So your timing is absolutely perfect. We just started talking about this with the idea of giving you as much platform as you want for as long as you can stay. So we'd really like to hear from you and your responses to these drafts and your ideas maybe beyond them or suggestions.
Sure. You had approached the planning board with the idea of trying to change the focus instead of just for your board, instead of just being simply related to historic buildings, to look at different historic zones, but also to have input into the planning process. And I think that's very good. I couldn't agree more. We on the planning board frequently bemoan the fact that we are quite often just a compliance board, and that we simply make sure that they comply with the laws without any input into standards related to architecture. And as a result, we have a kind of a mishmash of different architectures. There's not much in terms of consistency, and quite frequently, some of the buildings just don't have the eye appeal that perhaps they should. So by moving your board into a role that is focused on design reviews, I think is very good. And having you be a part of the planning board in the sense that one of the things that they would be required to do, an applicant would be required to do, is to consult with you regarding standards. You would give us a report back as to whether those standards fit whatever criteria you will develop. Is extremely helpful. We don't, on the planning board, we don't know anything about lighting, or we don't know anything about soffits. We're more concerned with zoning, and are they meeting the zoning requirements and setbacks and height restrictions and appeals that they may have to have, so that when we get into those sort of nuances, we're totally lost. So having a group that could be dedicated to that would be very advantageous, and funneling the applications through you so that they would have to, or may not even be legally compelled, but there would be significant amount of pressure that they conform with the standards that you provide. I mean, ultimately, I guess until it had teeth in it, they could say no, but the process might slow down considerably should they decide not to. So we're all advocates for it. The people on the board that I've talked to are advocates for it, and that would just make our lives a lot easier.
It's great to hear. I'll just return to something that Camilla was in the midst of saying just as you joined. I think that we have, to the extent that anybody in New Paltz is working from a game plan, it's quite an old master plan. I think everybody recognizes that it's obsolete. It's really not meeting our needs. And it is worrisome to me that we have, some really major things going up and planned. And there was some discussion. Bill is on the call, and he reiterated what you told me earlier last week, I guess it was, that the Moriello project, is moving forward slowly. I mean, that's going to be huge. That's going to be defining of a certain part of the village. And I feel like in the absence of this kind of input and coordination, it's always going to be, down to compliance without a lot of attention, or for that matter, John, legal grounds for the planning board to insist on, some of these aesthetics that we're tasked with. Now typically we deal in appropriateness rather than abstractions of beauty or ugliness. And that's kind of the guiding language of our thinking. But appropriateness, we've got enough consistency in the downtown area, the core of New Paltz, to say, there is a style here that has to be, or that should be in this scenario, respected, sometimes in a complimentary way. Obviously, everything is going to be modern, but there is good and bad and inappropriate and appropriate.
And I agree. And the New Paltz apartments are going to, with the annexation of that very, very large parcel, that's going to increase the size of New Paltz itself rather significantly. And if it has a particular look to it, that would probably be much better than if it just were sort of random according to what the developer felt like they wanted to do. Also, we have the Lalo hotel project, which is coming up. And that's something, given that it's going to be in the heart of the village, and it's going to be next to one of our parks, it's going to be next to some old Victorians. The school is over there. It certainly needs to be, it certainly needs to have a sense of detail applied to it. And from what I can understand, the group that's looking to move forward with that is amenable to having certain design standards set. Also, you've got Roddy's place across from Zero Place, and Mr. Willingham is working on that one. And again, that's another one where when I sat on the county call, they asked about lighting, downward lighting. They asked about, they were saying we should have planters and trees, and there was some pushback to it. So if you had if you had a vision of what would be appropriate for that area, sitting across from Stewart, sitting across from Zero Place, and then just really adjacent to the Huguenot area, I think that would be very, very helpful to kind of help guide that process. And again, I think that Mr. Willingham and Roddy are open to that.
That was our sense too. It was a pretty profitable discussion. John, how do you feel? And I guess I would open it up to anybody. The major changes that I'll be pitching on the 24th to the village board would be a name change, number one. And I think I'm now favoring design review board, having kind of shifted away from architectural review, which sounds to me just a little prissier and historic. But to Camilla's point, let's be thinking about larger patterns of design. So that's number one. The number two would be introducing a short form version of our current certificate of appropriateness that would just ask really basic things in cases where, and I think mostly this would apply to neighbors making significant exterior changes that neighbors might object to. I know the HPC has heard me say this several times, and John, you may have too, but on my street is a kind of poster child for what went wrong years ago on the planning board, because a house tripled in size, none of the siding matches, the roof pitches don't match. It just created a white elephant on the street. And I'd really like to see no more of that. And I think, we would catch that sort of thing under this. I mean, that actually, something that big probably would be a long form, but even smaller things, I think would come under the scrutiny of a short form with the discretion of the HPC Design Review Board to, direct somebody who needs direction, and in the worst case scenario to say, no, that's not appropriate. And then to forward that opinion to the planning board that can, of course, overrule it if it genuinely meets the disapproval of a large majority of the planning board. And otherwise, the expectation would be the planning board would hold that as as a requirement, along with all the other compliances. And then the Downtown Historic District has been, nominated, or it's been accepted as a state and national register district since 29, and it just doesn't have any protections. And I think we all know that the, what was it, 56 or 58 Main that still isn't finished, still isn't occupied, got a lot of people's backs up. And we had quite a bit of blowback saying, where the hell were you when this was going on? And the reality is that the code just isn't written for us to have a role. And we were brought in very, very late, and really too late. So I think pressing to make a second historic district, so it'd be Huguenot Street #1, Downtown Historic District #2, and those two would be subject to the long form always. That's my thinking, to make it as comfortable and as least onerous as possible to everybody else, but to protect the really sensitive parts of the community.
I agree, and I know the mayor agrees with that too. And I think that that's exactly what we need. I know that Dino has started working on the old grocery store, which was then part of the Japanese restaurant and was a pizza parlor for a while, and he stripped the stucco siding off of it, and I don't know what he's going to be doing, you know. And if he were to have to approach you folks for approval on whatever he's doing, would probably be a good thing, because not just picking on him, but anybody that has a building in that area, I think should have to go through a process where they have appropriateness. And with it being a historic district, I think there should be some teeth in things for building and doing renewals or doing remodeling in the historic district before it too gets out of hand and another building is built that does not fit within that area. So I agree, and I know the mayor agrees. So yeah, go right ahead. I'm all for it. You got our backing.
Great. Val, do you mind switching over to the document that has the arrows, the workflow? I want to just to go over this really quickly with everyone. This is a new document that nobody's seen because I wrote it yesterday. But I thought that it was fairly helpful just to have this schematized. So in the first instance, Huguenot Street, properties that are individually landmarked, and the new Downtown Historic District come straight to us. Sometimes that's going to be accompanied by an appeal to the planning board, sometimes to the building department. Come straight to us. Our determination by state law is actually binding. So this is what has gone on, you know, for 20 years now on Huguenot Street, but nowhere else in the community. Sorry, Huguenot Street and landmark properties. And basically, we'd like to see that brought to the new downtown district, so that we actually have a determination that's binding and enforceable by the building department, whether or not planning board happens to be in that. And then the other two major instances would be the building department gets an application that does not require planning board approval. That would be something like a change in siding, roofing, some minor alteration that wouldn't come to your attention. And we would look at that and decide no application needed because it's like for like, or substantively doesn't matter. Or we would ask for a short form application, or we would go the full long form. We'd report back to the building department, hoping that they would consider our recommendations. I think there probably is some scope to put a little more teeth in that, but I don't want to undermine the building department. And as long as we're working in harmony, I think that can be handled at the process level. And then the last instance, John, is what we talked about last week with Zach, that the planning board gets notice from Lalo Group that they want to do something, they push them to come to us. We would make a determination. We would ask for an application. We would do our process, and we would report formally back to you guys on a form that we would standardize, so that it's not me shooting. I've been worried that because there isn't a standard form, it ends up being an email to you sort of based on how I'm feeling that day, and I'd much rather see that standardized. And then, we would hope that you would accept those recommendations, but leave room for you to reject or amend them if a majority of 4 out of 5 or potentially 3 out of 5 really object to what we're saying. Then I think we would defer to the planning board, but hope that that wouldn't happen too often. So that's the thinking, John. I don't know if there's anything you see here that could be improved or expanded.
No, I like it. I would like to see as much. I'd like to see as many teeth in it as possible. While of course you don't want to be a roadblock to anybody doing anything, just saying no for the sake of saying no. Having reasonable people on the board and then having a considered opinion would be very, very helpful. I would look at doing 3 out of 5 to instead of the 4 out of 5. Just my preference, but I completely agree. I think it's good to go. And Zach and you and Zach have been in communication, I understand, and working on this, so that's great. Yeah, he's going to be the point person for us, and he takes a very strong interest in this. So yeah, I like it. I think it looks good.
Great.
Let me know what I can do to help you out.
Well, wonderful. I did hear back that we've got a spot on the village board agenda on the 24th. I don't know when, but if you feel like you could devote 15 or 20, I don't think it'll be much more than that. On the 24th, I think it'd be great if we could collectively present.
Yeah, I think that sounds fine. I'll put it in my calendar. The 24th. Yeah, I usually look at the village board meetings, as long as the parts that are germane. But yeah, I'll be there on the 24th.
Terrific. Okay, that sounds great. John, we promised 15 minutes, and we're just coming up to that. Does anybody have a question or comment for John before he peels off?
If I may say something, thank you so much, John, for your support, and I'm sure that our boards will be able to work together very well. You have a set of expertise that we don't necessarily have, with the technical aspects of the planning process, and I think we will complement each other quite well.
I do too. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Working with you
Great.
all.
Yeah. Anybody else? Great. Well, John, thank you very much. Really appreciate your coming, and let me know if I can't do the same tomorrow, but at some future point, I'm sure I can.
Sure. No, I appreciate the work you're doing, and let's move forward with it. Let me know what I can do to help you out. Okay.
Very good. Okay. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Hi, thank you.
So let me just, I think this is probably our last agenda item. Can anybody think of anything that would strengthen or clarify what I will end up pitching next Wednesday, about 10 days out, 9 days out?
I think it looks pretty good and concise, and that always helps.
Well, that's a credit to Zach. He pointed out that I'm not always as concise as I can be. But yeah, I think, Camilla, you just said something that I put in my notes and put a star next to. This is about complementarity. The planning board, I had never really thought about this, but John mentioned it when I met with him and Zach last week. They really are mostly a compliance board. You know, they don't really have a charge of, in spite of the name of the group, they're really not planning. They're receiving applications and deciding if they comply. And I think we could be helpful in, you know, setting up a vision, complementing the technical expertise that they have that we really don't have, and I don't even know, and focusing on, you know, issues of appropriateness. So I look forward to presenting to the board. I thought that we really couldn't move forward during COVID, and then, you know, with the short-term rental law going forward, I said, well, why not? This is a quality of life issue that is just as significant. So
I think there is a dramatic shift in the attitude, it seems, from the planning board compared
yes,
to last time. I mean, compared to the beginning of this process last year.
yeah, indeed. That was about a year ago, actually, Camilla, and it was not a good reception. But I think there were some personalities in
And I
that.
think maybe they understand more what we are proposing and not just emotionally reacting to it
Right.
without the facts or without delving into the details of what.
You know, one of the things that really struck me and has stayed with me for a year is this kind of underlying fear of people or on behalf of people who live in 1960s raised ranches and are just worried that they're somehow going to be forced to turn them into something historic at great expense. And I became very sensitized to that we're really not in any way trying to do that, but just to kind of be a body that can help people think about what's appropriate.
Yeah.
In worst case scenarios, say, no, it's not appropriate. You got to think of something else. But I think in most cases, and you know, we've almost always done this, just nudging people to think about things that they're not in the habit of thinking about.
Yes, and it's not about prohibiting progress or modern styles or new development. It's just to be consistent and
Right.
and appropriate.
Yeah. Chris, go ahead, please.
I agree with the both of you. That's I think it's I think it's a unique time where it kind of feels like there's a lot of change happening and things coming in locally that I think that people are looking around and they're like, oh, what is this going on over here? And it almost feels as if there is a lack of control over how fast and rapid that these changes are happening. It's like, never would I have imagined that in, a few months we're looking at a plan that would entirely, 3 different plans between the 2 buildings on 32 would be Zero Place and the other proposed one, and then the Lao project. And I just think it's right. It's only right that there's more of, just some way of, I guess, like you said, not prohibiting people from doing something, but for having a say in what is actually going to go on, and maybe at least feel as if you have a say, instead of like you said, that whatever that building 50 whatever on Main Street, like I think anyone would give anything to go back and be able to have said, like, no, we did not, that's not what we're trying to sign up for. So I think it's necessary, and I think it's unique to what the time that we're experiencing right now, where in less than a year, the reality of the situation is that people are going to try and start making money off of New Paltz.
Oh, yeah.
In a way that, maybe wasn't so blatant before. But I think a lot of people feel as if they're living in a tour or in an amusement park sometimes. And So if there's any way that, or on the weekends at least, that if there's any way to at least make it more palatable, or like in a way that is, involves the community a little more than before, I think it's great. So those are my major thoughts on that.
And you know what? I just took a note on that too. Yeah, I'll raise that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just simple. It's like, there are people, I get people at the shop all the time telling me that they're moving in or that they're staying here a few months now in a frequency that was never even close.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are starting to feel as if it's just everything's changing so rapidly. And I think that if the change is going to happen rapidly, then maybe the reaction and change on our side needs to be, somewhat swift as well. So,
yeah.
That being said, I'll be there on the 24th to chat.
Yes, I hope everybody can. And we'll make sure to remind everybody beforehand.
Thank you. And I would agree. I think we've all driven through towns that maybe we remember from even 10 years ago, and you drive through them now, and they used to be really great, vibrant little villages or little towns, and you drive through and they're awful. They're, and a lot of times they're empty too, because
Yeah.
now they've got a Walmart on the outskirts of town. And they've got all these other buildings, and you'll talk to people and they say, it just kind of happened overnight. We don't know how it happened. And I think that's a definite fear, that could happen. Chris, I agree, because people are moving in and it's changing.
Yeah. And it's in a way where, we're talking about, we still want this to be an accessible town. We don't,
Right.
not like a boutique town. We don't want Brooklyn upstate. We want New Paltz.
No.
So,
Right. Agreed.
So it's everyone chill with their Patagonias and all their really nice stuff. And, let's take a beat.
Yeah. This is great. This is really helpful to me. I will, either Valerie or I will remind you closer to the 24th, but please tune in. I'll see if I can get a sense of where we are in the agenda, not only for you, but for me. So, we can kind of time it, and hope it goes well. I think it will.
Good.
Great. Is there any new business that we should consider?
We still have a budget report to give.
I snuck that in while you were looking for a file. Let me just repeat it so that you've got it. It is, we are 75% into the year, having expended 52% of the budget.
Thank you. I
Yep.
did miss that.
Yeah, well, you were occupied, and it's not exactly, earth-shattering news. It's pretty much what we do every report, but it's
Well,
nice
thank
that
you
we're
for
under
doing that for
budget.
me.
Everyone, thank you so much. Is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Pat
I move.
and seconded by Sue. All in favor? Okay. Hey, thanks everybody so much. Bill, thanks for attending and for your report.
Thank you.
You'll hear from me and from us on the 24th at the village board meeting.
That's correct. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Great. Everybody, thank you very much. Have a wonderful month. It'll be a whole new world outside on April 19th or by April 19th. Hope to see you all around town.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Do we have a village planner right now?
We don't.
No.